All systems go. Clear for liftoff.
Hello, and welcome to this week's NASCAR Quick Hit here at SHIPIT Nation. I am Eric, also known as TheGame, and today we are going to be discussing the Quaker State 400, which is taking place at Atlanta Motor Speedway. As always, please go ahead and hit that like button and subscribe to our YouTube channel if you haven't already. It does go an incredibly long way in helping us with the YouTube algorithm. Before we break down the Quaker State 400, let me, of course, mention football and our first amazing night one of week one of NFL. It was an amazing night one of the NFL week one season here at SHIPIT Nation. And let me tell you, it was a pretty damn good night too, as well. Yeah, folks, we are crushing it so far in the NFL season and crushing it at all sports here at SHIPIT Nation. So if you haven't already, please come join the nation, shipitnation.com. But we are not here to talk about football. Instead, we are here to talk about the Quaker State 400 taking place at Atlanta Motor Speedway. This week, Green Flag is at 3 o'clock Eastern Time, and TV coverage is on the USA Network in America and TSN5 in Canada. This week, we are not going to focus on our traditional Dominators because we are once again super speedway racing. So I will be deploying my normal super speedway rules where I will be only rostering those drivers starting this weekend. I'm going to be focusing on those starting from 15th on back because I really like Kyle Busch. But most super speedway slates, I only focus on 20th on back. But this week I am starting from 15th on back for my player pool. Let's see here. I feel like I skipped over something I wanted to speak about first. Oh, I did. It is NASCAR Cup playoff season, which is important to our conversation here today. So let me go ahead and get my screen share up here. Bam. That is the stone. And let me get the Cup Series playoff standings. Here we go. All right. The Cup Series playoffs start this weekend at Atlanta. And it is the top 16 drivers, plus those who have victories, who make it into the playoffs. So the drivers who are currently playoff eligible would be, or rather are in the playoffs, is Kyle Larson, Christopher Bell, Tyler Reddick, William Byron, Ryan Blaney, Denny Hamlin, Chase Elliott, Brad Keselowski, Joey Logano, Austin Cindric, Daniel Suarez, Alex Bowman, and then we have Chase Briscoe, Harrison Burton, Ty Gibbs, and rounding off the playoff group is Martin Truex Jr. At the end of round 1, 4 drivers are eliminated from the playoffs. So this is a super speedway race. This is normally a very volatile race, right? Lots of accidents can happen. Drivers like Kyle Larson, Christopher Bell, hell, maybe even Tyler Reddick, they have such a big points advantage in the beginning of the playoffs that they can kind of use this race as a mulligan if they want to. The drivers like Alex Bowman, Chase Briscoe, Harrison Burton, Suarez, Cindric, etc. This is one race they probably have circled, but they have a chance to win and advance to the second round of the playoffs, right? So those are your 16 playoff drivers. To make it into round 2 of the playoffs, you have to be in the top 12, and to guarantee that, a victory moves you on. Okay. And round 1 of the playoffs is pretty a different, whole bunch of different tracks. We have Quaker State 400 this weekend at Atlanta. Next weekend, we have one of my favorite races of the year, the Go Bowling at the Glen, road course racing at Watkins Glen International. And then the week after, we got the Bass Pro Shops night race at Bristol. So round 1 of the playoffs is Atlanta, Watkins Glen, and Bristol. And you have to win or at least be in the top 12 of the points to make it into round 2 of the playoffs. All right. Now, let's get the stone back open here and get my notes back open. Note screen 2. Perfect. All right. So I think I don't remember if I said this or not, but once again, this week we are back super speedway racing, so we are not going to focus on our traditional Dominator plays, as lap sled and fast laps are normally spread out here on these super speedway tracks. And as always, on super speedway / drafting tracks, there is no practice. So practice is blank on the screen right now. That is how it should be. There was no practice today. The only major story coming out of qualifying was Denny Hamlin. And no, I'm not talking about 2311 not signing their charter agreement. Denny Hamlin had engine troubles during his qualifying lap and quite literally qualified dead last. So you are getting a $10,000 driver who is excellent at super speedway style tracks. Dead last, 38th starting position. I'm fairly certain TRD and Toyota are changing. TRD and Toyota. TRD is Toyota. I'm fairly certain TRD is doing an engine change on Denny's car, which would put him to the rear of the field, but he's already there. If you are playing cash games, I think Denny Hamlin is a lock. If you are playing tournaments, I think this is a great spot for you to pivot. I think we at SHIPIT Nation currently have him at projected 49% ownership. It would not surprise me to see him creep over 50 in single entry tournaments, stuff like that. So I think in tournaments, you could definitely do game theory and pivot away from Denny Hamlin. But if you're playing cash tomorrow, or rather during the Quaker State 400, just go ahead and lock him in. All right, let's see here. All right, let's go over some of my favorite drivers for this slate. First up, I'm going to kick off with NASCAR's most popular driver, and that is one Chase Elliott, who is starting 16th. Not only is Chase NASCAR's most popular driver, he is also a NASCAR playoff contender, which is quite important because they need to win, right? He is where I'll be starting my player pool this week. Well, him and Kyle Busch. And he has one win here at the Next Gen era back in 2022. I believe it was the first or second race on the brand new layout here at Atlanta. So Chase Elliott does know how to get his way around here in Atlanta. He has to do well to advance in the playoffs, and he's starting 16th. So he gives you some a little bit of place differential upside, and should be contending for a win by the end of the day on Sunday if all goes according to plan. Next up is another NASCAR playoff contender, and that is Brad Keselowski. Earlier this season, Brad was caught up in an accident during the very first Atlanta race, which was all the way back in February, I believe. However, if we look past that one Atlanta race where he was wrecked, Brad has finishes of 6th, 2nd, 8th, and 18th. Right? So 6th, 2nd, and 18th for Brad, minus last year or earlier this year at this race where he was wrecked out. Brad, again, is also a NASCAR playoff contender, rather a NASCAR playoff participant. He needs to win, right? So love Brad Keselowski on Sunday. Next up is yet another NASCAR Cup playoff driver, and this time it is mi amigo Daniel Suarez in the 5 next gen races here at the brand new Atlanta. Suarez has finishes of 4th, 6th, 29th, 2nd, and of course the first place finish that we're all familiar with from earlier this season. Mi amigo likely needs a victory in the first round to make it through to round 2 of the playoffs. I don't think he'll point his way in. Maybe he will, but he just hasn't had a season to make you think he's going to point himself into the playoffs or to advance into the playoffs. However, it sure as hell wouldn't surprise me if he won this race since he just done it earlier this season. And I just read you his past stats. So love mi amigo Daniel Suarez this weekend, and he is rolling off the grid 30th. And last, but most certainly not least, my bargain bin play of the week. And once again, I'm going to unload young Carson Hocevar. As I've mentioned numerous times on these quick hit videos, Carson Hocevar has been the shining light of the Spire Motorsports season, and I don't think that'll be any different on Sunday. Yes, Corey LaJoie, his Spire Motorsports teammate, qualified 25th and is fairly well at Atlanta. I still assume and think Hocevar will beat him out. Hocevar, as I said, has been the shining light of Spire, beating out both Zane Smith and Corey LaJoie. And in this past 3 super speedway drafting track finishes, he has top 20 finishes in all 3 of them. So start 32nd with top 20 upside at only $5,700. Love Carson Hocevar tomorrow on this slate. And do I have anything else here? No, it is a these super speedway races are always a bit especially when we have no practice to talk about. It's kind of we can go through the information fairly quickly. So yeah, like I said, this weekend I will be starting my player pool with the 15th place driver of Kyle Busch and fading 1st through 14th because it is a super speedway style track. And I will be including each of the drivers who are in the NASCAR playoffs who start 15th on back in my player pool. And just browsing through that would be Chase Elliott, Brad Keselowski, Ty Gibbs, Truex, Reddick, Bell, Suarez, and I think that's it. Oh, and then Hamlin, obviously, Hamlin. So I think that is all I have. I just want to scan my notes one more time. Yeah, no, hey, that's everything I got. If you have any questions on the slate, as always, please feel free to reach out to me on Discord. And as always, let's ship it.